In 1942, during the height of World War II, the Allied forces launched one of the most daring and dangerous commando missions of the entire war. The target was the heavily fortified Saint-Nazaire port on the western coast of France, which was under German control. Inside this port was a massive dry dock capable of repairing Germany's largest battleships, including the powerful Tirpitz. If this dock remained operational, German warships could continue threatening Allied shipping in the Atlantic Ocean. To stop this threat, British commandos planned an extremely risky operation. Their mission was to sail directly into the enemy port, destroy the dock, and escape before German forces could react. The plan was bold, dangerous, and many soldiers knew it could become a suicide mission. The Saint-Nazaire dry dock was one of the most valuable naval facilities controlled by Nazi Germany. Built to service large ocean liners before the war, the dock was large enough to repair powerful German battleships operating in the Atlantic. British naval commanders knew that if ships like the Tirpitz were damaged during combat, they could use this dock for repairs and return to battle. This made the port a major threat to Allied shipping routes. Destroying the dock would make it impossible for Germany's largest warships to operate safely in the Atlantic Ocean. However, the port was heavily defended with guns, searchlights, and thousands of German soldiers. Any attack would require incredible courage and careful planning. The British plan for Operation Chariot was bold and extremely dangerous. A group of commandos would travel across the English Channel aboard a small fleet of ships under the cover of darkness. The centerpiece of the operation was an old destroyer ship named HMS Campbelltown. The ship was secretly packed with explosives and disguised to look like a German vessel. The plan was to sail the ship directly into the Saint-Nazaire dock gates and crash it into the structure. Once the ship struck the dock, commandos would rush ashore to destroy nearby facilities and defensive positions. Hours later, the hidden explosives inside the ship would detonate and destroy the dock completely. It was a bold plan, but the risks were enormous. On the night of March 28, 1942, the British task force carrying the commandos approached the coast of France. The ships moved silently through the dark waters of the Atlantic toward the heavily defended port of Saint-Nazaire. The destroyer HMS Campbelltown, disguised to resemble a German vessel, sailed at the front of the formation. Behind it followed several small boats carrying British commandos who were ready to storm the port. At first, the German defenses were uncertain about the approaching ships. Searchlights scanned the water while coastal batteries prepared to fire. Soon the alarm was raised across the harbour. German guns opened fire as the British ships rushed toward the dock gates. The daring raid had begun. As the ships reached the harbour, British commandos quickly began their assault on the port facilities. Small boats landed soldiers along the docks, while heavy gunfire echoed across the harbour. The commandos moved quickly to destroy German equipment, communication centres, and defensive guns. Explosions lit up the night as demolition teams placed charges on key targets around the port. German soldiers fought back fiercely, and intense firefights erupted across the harbour area. The commandos knew they had only a short time to complete their mission before German reinforcements could arrive. Despite the chaos and danger, the British soldiers continued pushing forward to complete their objectives. Meanwhile, the destroyer HMS Campbelltown continued moving directly toward the massive dock gates of Saint-Nazaire. Despite heavy gunfire from German defences, the ship maintained full speed. Finally, the destroyer crashed directly into the dock gates, embedding itself deep into the structure. The impact shocked the German defenders, who rushed to inspect the damaged ship. However, what they did not realize was that the ship had been secretly packed with tons of powerful explosives hidden inside its hull. After crashing into the dock, British commandos abandoned the ship and continued fighting inside the harbor. The explosives were set on delayed timers. Hours later, they would detonate and destroy the dock completely. After the destroyer HMS Campbelltown crashed into the dock gates at Saint-Nazaire, the British commandos continued fighting across the port while the damaged ship remained stuck in the dock structure. German soldiers quickly surrounded the area and began inspecting the ship, believing it had simply been disabled during the battle. However, hidden deep inside the hull of the destroyer were tons of powerful explosives placed by British engineers before the mission began. These explosives were connected to delayed timers designed to detonate hours after the raid. As the morning approached, many German soldiers gathered near the ship, unaware of the danger. The calm before the explosion gave no warning of what was about to happen. Soon, the carefully planned trap would unleash devastating destruction across the port. Later that morning, the explosives hidden inside HMS Campbelltown finally detonated. The blast was enormous and completely destroyed the dock gates of Saint-Nazaire. The explosion sent debris flying across the harbor and caused severe damage to nearby buildings and ships. The powerful blast killed many German soldiers who had gathered near the destroyer earlier that morning. More importantly, the explosion permanently destroyed the massive dry dock facility. With the dock destroyed, German battleships such as the Tirpitz would no longer have a safe place for major repairs along the Atlantic coast. The daring British raid had successfully achieved its objective despite the heavy risks involved. Although the raid was successful, it came at a heavy cost for the British forces. Many commandos were killed or captured during the intense battle inside the harbor. However, their sacrifice had achieved an important strategic victory for the Allies. The destruction of the Saint-Nazaire dock meant that Germany's largest battleships could no longer safely operate in the Atlantic Ocean without access to a major repair facility. This greatly reduced the threat posed by ships such as the Tirpitz. Because of the incredible bravery shown during the mission, many of the soldiers involved received military honors. Historians later described Operation Chariot as one of the most daring and successful commando raids of World War II.